Audio check 1, 2, 3.
One, two, 1, 2. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, we're lining up on the grid here at the Marina Bay here in Singapore, getting ready to go racing for the sprint race here tonight. Round 16 of a 21 round season here for Season 5 at Motive on the PlayStation 4 and 5 here on the EA Sports F1 game. As we're moments away from lights out here, the last car's just pulling up here. A bit of a bleated grid here tonight, unfortunately. Only 14 drivers here turned up. Pretty much everybody couldn't make it for one reason or another. And as such, this is what we got in front of us here. But we've got Viper lining up on pole with Gertie alongside him on the front row. Bennett and Martin just behind them. And here we go, lights coming on now, and we're moments away. It's lights out and away we go. And it's a good start there from Viper, but an even better start there from Bennett from the second row as he's looking to the outside here, and it's got around Crazy Max and Gertie, and Gertie's dropped 2 places off of the line here, and it's down to 4th place as Martin here trying up the inside of Mr. Basil gets that move done up into 5th place. Beautiful move there from Martin. We can see here Little Greavy's battling with V10 Ultra. Mike's got ahead of Mr. Basil, and Crazy Max here dicing it out with Gertie at the moment, but Gertie can't get ahead of him. But Mike there getting ahead of Mr. Basil up into P6, and Gertie in here has got a bit of a run coming down Raffles Boulevard, and is he going to make the move into the left-hander? He is going to get that one done, and Gertie in there up into 3rd place. Nice move there from him. But Bennett with an absolutely electric start at the beginning of this sprint race. He went from 4th up to 2nd place, and he's all over the back of the race to the Viper here. And Bennett already on a mission. You can see here he's determined to try and make something happen here in this sprint race. Obviously, qualifying tends to not be really his strong suit. Bennett is a driver who goes much better in the races. Did he love a pole position, wouldn't he? That would be fantastic for the Grand Prix later on. As we can see, Little Greavy's got out of Costas up into 8th place, so he's made that manoeuvre somewhere as they're coming over the bridge in the mid part of the lap. But it's currently Viper from Bennett. There's Gertie in 3rd, ahead of Crazy Max. Martin there in 5th place. And what's happened down the pack? It looks as though we lost somebody. Somebody's got into the wall. Mr. Basil there is in the barriers, and he's got big damage there on the car. Well, he hasn't got that much damage actually, but it's damaged his race. He's dropped down to the back, and he's well off of everybody else here. So without a safety car in this race, that's pretty much Mr. Basil's sprint race over and done with, which is a massive shame there for him, obviously, because I have to start the Grand Prix from the back of the grid. But we've got Senna currently running in 12th place, and Senna said to me earlier on tonight, he said, Singapore is my favourite track, you know, I really do enjoy it, and obviously so far tonight, obviously in the one-shot qualifying it hasn't gone to plan, but fingers crossed he can make his way through and get a decent grid position for the start of the Grand Prix coming up later on. Still a long way to go in this sprint race. We're coming to the end of lap 1, so we've got 9 laps left to go, but he's currently stuck in a bit of traffic, and overtaking is not too easy around the Marina Bay either, so he's got a lot ahead of him if he wants to try and get himself into a strong points position. But currently Viper's still leading ahead of Bennett. Bennett's keeping him on his toes right now. Bennett has got incredible straight line speed in that Mercedes. You can see that it's got it set up a little bit lower downforce I think than Viper, because he was getting a lot of closing speed there despite no DRS at this point in the race. DRS isn't open until lap 3. But nonetheless, Viper, Bennett and Gertie are breaking away from this pack of cars here. Crazy Max, Martin and Mike. As Little Greavy's making a move down the inside of Costas. Around the outside even. Costas trying to go back down the inside. Can't get it done. Little Greavy's got that one done up into P7. Nicely done there from him. V10 Ultra's got ahead of Senna, although has he? Oh! V10 Ultra there very late on the brakes up the inside of Totally Zero. Totally Zero is losing out there to V10 Ultra and Senna. And the Greave can't get around on him here coming in towards the old sling. But Totally Zero there losing 2 places, and that's going to be frustrating there because obviously he got tapped in the rear a little bit from V10 Ultra. V10 Ultra a little bit naughty there, I've got to say. Not sportsmanlike behaviour certainly from him. But in the meantime, we've got to see the battle going on between Viper, Bennett and Gertie, because they're gapping Crazy Max by quite a bit here. You've got Crazy Max ahead of Martin and Mike there running in 6th place. Little Greavy just ahead of Costas. You've got the Mutts Nuts there ahead of V10 Ultra. There's Senna, who's made the move now on Totally Zero, obviously with Totally Zero getting tagged around a little bit by V10 Ultra. The Greave is now pulling up onto the back of this pack as well. He's now trying to get the move done here on Totally Zero as they come through towards the bridge. I always forget the name of the bridge, to be fair, but oh, what's happened to Little Greavy? Little Greavy's in the wall. Little Greavy's got big damage there. You can see that there's a part of that front wing has come off. The left front end plate, I think, has come off. So yeah, that's Little Greavy there in trouble in this race as Mike's into the pits, so presumably damage there on Mike's car. He's got no front wing, so he's taken a battering there in the final sector. Somebody else is off as well. Mr. Basil's dropped it again, so Mr. Basil's night goes from bad to worse. He can't seem to stop spinning at the moment as Gertian's got to run here on Bennett with DRS wide open here for the Red Bull, and he's made that move there on the Mercedes as we just flicked to the Ferrari of Crazy Max there. I do apologise for that. But yeah, Gertian up into second place. Bennett dropping off at the back of Viper. Viper's starting to gap these two bit by bit here out the front. Seems to have a bit of control over this race. The Mutsnuts has got ahead of Costas up into 6th, but he goes deep there, and Costas is going to get back at him here around the outside. The Mutsnuts back down the inside. Wow, he goes through him there. Well, that's not supposed to happen. Not when they're battling for position. I suppose it's a good thing that he did go. He's spitting away. Not really, because you know you want to see that. You want to see realism in these races. So the Mutsnuts there ghosted through Costas as he went late on the brakes, and that is not something we want to see. We want to see drivers actually getting punished for those mistakes. But yeah, that's a bit strange. I don't quite know why that's happened. Because ghosting, as far as I know, is turned on, but it shouldn't be happening when you're battling for position. But nonetheless, Costas ahead of the Mutsnuts. Senna here down the inside of the Mutsnuts is going to make this move surely. Although Mutsnuts is fighting this one out. Senna obviously with a lowly grid position. Didn't get a lap in really in the one-shot qualifying. He actually got disqualified from his lap, but he also made a mistake during that lap anyway. Mike is out of the race here in this sprint race. Has he crashed or is he retired? We've got double yellow flags throughout the whole track. In fact, virtual safety cars being deployed. Is anybody going to chance a pit stop? I wouldn't have thought so at this early stage. Well, the leaders have already come past the pit lane, so they can't. Their hands are tied. I would have thought Crazy Max might be worth a punt, bringing it into the pits. It'd probably come out in P8, could put the softs on, but no, he hasn't gone for it. But yeah, currently lap 4 of this sprint race here for the Singapore Grand Prix tonight at Motive. Round 16 of 21 here for Season 5 here on the EA Sports F1 game. It's currently Viper from Gertian, from Bennett. Crazy Max running a long way behind them in 4th place right now. They're a big gap back to Martin. You got Costas who's running just ahead of the Mutsnuts. There's Senna running in 8th place ahead of V10 Ultra and the Grieve. You got Totally Zero there running in 11th place, a little way ahead of Little Greavy there in 12th. Mr. Basil still going, to be fair, to give him credit, because obviously it's not been the night so far at all for him. But looks like we're underway once again. So the virtual safety car has now subsided. And we're back under green flag conditions here. Bennett creeping close to the back of Gertian. He's not giving up in this battle for 2nd place, despite Gertian getting ahead of him a lap or so ago. But is Gertian now going to start pulling away and start bringing the fight to Viper, who leads this race and has led since the start. And obviously on the first couple of laps, Bennett was keeping him on his toes and keeping him honest. But once the tyres seem to get up to temperature, Vipers now seem to just had a little bit in hand over both Gertian and Bennett, although Gertian maybe starting to chip away at that gap a little bit now. Senna's now ahead of the Mutsnuts up into 7th place. I think they've swapped positions a couple of times because I saw that was a move that had just happened. So I think Mutsnuts must have got back ahead, and then Senna's obviously now made the move on him again. In fact, the Mutsnuts has got no front wing. Has he? No, sorry, that's just the Williams front wing. That's the black front wing on the Williams, just camouflaging with the bodywork. I do apologise. But V10 Ultra here all over the back of the Mutsnuts right now as they come into the final sector of the lap, and you can see here V10 Ultra is having little looks, trying to gauge where the Mutsnuts is a bit weaker, maybe trying to get a good exit out of one of these slower corners. You have DRS down the main straight, but I don't think that the main straight's it's not a great overtaking spot. It's a relatively short main straight, so you know, as far as main straights go, it's not exactly the best hotspot for getting the move done. And for the time being, he's tucking in here. You can see V10 Ultra just having to wait for his opportunity a little bit longer here. But the thing is, he's got the Grieve all over the back of him, so he needs to get on with this. The Grieve has got a bit of a run here coming to the outside as V10 Ultra goes a little bit deep. Does the Grieve get the cut back here? I think he is going to get the cut back there. The Grieve moves himself through up into 9th place, and now we'll have DRS on the Mutsnuts as well. For good measure, they've both got DRS on each other here as V10 Ultra looking to the inside, but too far back, and the Grieve has that one done and has 9th place there in the bag. So beautifully done there from him. As Little Greavy's trying to challenge on the back of Totally Zero at this point, but has to tuck in for now. Viper still leading the race by 1.4, so the gap between Viper and Gertian staying at around the same. It's not really changing. And Totally Zero lost his front wing, so Totally Zero's had an incident there. He's had an excursion into the barriers and is now missing his front wing. As you can clearly see, that McLaren not looking how it's supposed to. And Little Greavy up into P11, but Totally Zero will have to come into the pits and get that repaired, because that's going to be undrivable at this point. So he'll be coming in probably at the end of this lap, and it'll drop him down to P13 behind Mr. Basil, who's 17 seconds behind him on the road at the moment. Hey, if you're currently watching live on YouTube at the moment, guys, if you're enjoying, please smash the like button. Show appreciation for the drivers out on track. They're putting on a great show here tonight at Singapore. Not the easiest of circuits. It's a challenging circuit to navigate. And, yeah, I mean, obviously, without the added stress of the heat and the climate in real life, but still a very tricky circuit. You know, plenty of twisty corners, obviously slow, medium, high-speed corners, all sorts really. It's a real test of driver skill and setup knowledge as well, as Mutsnut's into the pits here at the end of lap 5. So he's coming in at the halfway point for damage repairs, and Totally Zero we're expecting to come in as well as he's staying out. So I don't quite know why Totally Zero is staying out. Did he forget where the pit lane was maybe? I think potentially that might be what's happened there, because he's decided not to come in. So yeah, bit strange. But anyway, V10 Ultra is still on the back of the Grieve at the moment. You can see these guys separated by just under a second, but V10 Ultra's not really making much of an impression on the Grieve, and the battles have just kind of phased out a little bit here. There's not really too much, there's not really too many fights going on at this point. The drivers are just all spacing each other out. Everyone's kind of found their spot, their position, if you like, in this order, and it's now pretty much a procession at this stage in the race. We're just over halfway through the sprint race, obviously. We've got the Grand Prix coming up after that. This sprint race will set the grid for the Grand Prix. Obviously, for this season, in 2023, the sprint race format's slightly different. It has no bearing on the grid order, but we're still running the 22 format, which obviously the sprint race result does set the grid for the Grand Prix. So it's a little bit of added jeopardy in the sprint race compared to what it is in 2023. Gertie in the meantime has taken a bit of time out of Viper, was 3/10 quicker on that lap from what I could see. It was 1.6 at the start of the previous lap. It's now 1.3 or 1.4 it creeps up to coming through the chicane, or rather not the chicane, but you know, the first sort of section of the track, which is not really a chicane at all. I don't know why I called it a chicane, to be honest with you, but Viper's still leading this race, and obviously he's led the race since the early stages. Him and Gertie seem quite even on pace. There's not really much separating them in terms of their outright speed, but definitely looks like Viper's got it in the bag at the moment. He just needs to stay consistent, and as long as he can match Gertie, and he'll be able to keep this lead and be able to bring it home for a race win here. Obviously a sprint race win, not a Grand Prix win, not the prestigious one that I'm sure he'll be wanting to win. You get the maximum points, 25 points for a race victory. Obviously in the Grand Prix, for the sprint race you get 8 points for a win, all the way down to 1 point for 8th place. So it's 1 point between each position, and if you're outside the top 8 you get nil points. So it doesn't matter if you finish 9th or 20th, it's nil points for you, sunshine. But currently Viper still leading the race by 1.5 seconds at this point, as we're coming sort of towards the middle part of lap 7 here. We're 3/4 of the way through the sprint race here tonight at Motive for the for round 16 here of season 5 here on the EA Sports F1 game. Gertie seems to be closing through this section of the track. He's gained a little bit of time here. Obviously Viper seems quick down the straights. He seems to have the pace in the faster sections. Gertie in the twisty sections is definitely reeling him in a little bit. I think that's where the setups are maybe differing a little bit. Viper seems to have gone for a little bit more of a lower downforce kind of setup. Gertie certainly has got it a bit more planted, but down the straights Viper seems to be pulling away from Gertie. But obviously now with Viper having Gertie having DRS, it'll help him massively. Down the start finish straight we go, looking to the inside into turn 1, but Viper's got it covered off for the time being. That was a close call though, with Viper making that mistake out of the final corner. Now can Gertie pounce? Now can he make the most of Viper seemingly under a bit of pressure here on lap 8 of this race? You can see he's getting closer and closer to the back of him here as they come through turn 3. If Gertie can get a good exit here, he'll be at the DRS down Raffles Boulevard, and we'll have a great chance going into the left-hander. Here we go, DRS open for the Red Bull. He's now going to look to the inside surely, but he's not going to be close enough. And I said earlier on, Viper's gone for a low downforce setup. You can see, case in point, just how strong that car is in a straight line. Gertie had DRS all the way down that section of the track. He could not do anything with him. It's slipstream and DRS. He still wasn't a match for Viper down the straights. Viper's car is an absolute beast down these straights. It's struggling through the corners and potentially could be prone to a mistake through these parts of the track with Gertie so close to him. But if he doesn't make a mistake, I can't see Gertie making this move. Honestly, I think that he's going to have this covered as long as he doesn't make a mistake throughout the last 2.5 laps. But it's easier said than done when you've got a Red Bull and a driver of Gertie's calibre all over the back of your rear view mirrors as we're coming through this next DRS zone. Still not close enough despite having the DRS. It's just quite unbelievable really at this point. And also one thing that Viper's got in his favour is he's got more ERS battery to deploy as well. He's got 24% of his, Gertie's got 11%. So Viper's got that at his disposal and can use that over the next sort of couple of laps. He can use it really any time, as can Gertie, and use his. But Viper definitely in a better position here to win this race. Gertian's got to sort of get his elbows out and really fight here in this one. Here we come into the final couple of corners here, about to start the penultimate lap of this sprint race, and the championship leader is currently trying to put it up. The newcomer to the league, the guy who joined only a couple of weeks ago and has had a very strong inception since he joined, finished P2 at Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago in the Grand Prix. Last week wasn't here at Monza, so he's driven one round so far this season, but a P2 on his Grand Prix debut here at Motive. He's currently leading the sprint race here at Singapore tonight. Gertian did manage to deny him in the Grand Prix at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. Obviously that one wasn't streamed because my game crashed during the actual Grand Prix itself. And by the way, touch wood, hopefully it doesn't crash tonight, but saying that, it probably is about to crash in a minute, isn't it? No, my luck. But Gertian all over the back of Viper at this point, as these guys still continue to fight it out for the lead. Costa's running instead of the Grieve. You can see with V10 Ultra on the back of them as well. This battle for 5th place still continuing to rage on. Crazy Max is on the back of Mr. Basil as well, so that one continues to fight it out. As Crazy Max down the inside into the final corner here, and he gets himself ahead of Mr. Basil, so he's done that one brilliantly there. As Senna now trying to get involved in this as well. Down the start finish straight, Senna down the inside here of Mr. Basil into turn 1 as he gets the move done there to Senna. So beautifully executed there from him. And he's now right on the back of Crazy Max at this point, looking to try and get himself into another position here, into 9th place if he possibly can. Let's go back to the leaders here, because Viper and Gertian are still very close as they're coming into the final sector of this lap. Just over a lap left to go here at Singapore for the sprint race here tonight. Obviously we've got the Grand Prix coming up after this, so still a lot of racing still to be observed. Crazy Max has got back ahead of Senna. Senna had made the move, but Senna's back down the inside for the right hander, and he's going to get this one done surely. Crazy Max keeping himself there. He's not giving this one up easily. Crazy Max squeezes back through, but Senna getting the cut back here, and that's surely going to be job done here for him. Yes, it is. Senna moves himself through up into 9th place, and damage imitation here in this sprint race will score no points, unfortunately for him. But nonetheless, he's done an admirable job here in this sprint race, it has to be said. Viper still leading the race ahead of Gertian as they're coming through into the middle sector here on the final, into the first sector. Oh, Gertian looking down the inside. He gives a bit of a tap there as they can't make it a contact, but Viper manages to hold it around the outside and gets a better exit coming through Raffles Boulevard. But Gertian here with the DRS once again looking to the outside. He needs to make his corner and grip count here, because that's where he's got an advantage. He's looking around the outside and he's going to get this one done. Gertian has done it brilliantly there, inside for the right hander as Viper tries to hold it around the outside, but he can't do it. Viper has not got the grip in that car at all, and Gertian there superbly executing a manoeuvre for the race lead here on the final lap here in the sprint race. A superb, patiently weighted drive here, and Gertian seems to have got his reward. An extra point in the bag in this sprint race. He took the risks there. He doesn't need to. He's the championship leader, but he wants to get the wins. He wants to win every single race that he possibly can. This man here is on an absolute purple patch right now, and it doesn't seem like anybody can stop him. Viper has fought valiantly here in this race, but it's going to be Gertian who's going to bring it home, barring any major catastrophes in the final sector of this lap. And here he comes then, Gertian. What a performance here in this race. Hadn't had it easy. Dropped down to 4th place earlier on. Had to clear Bennett and left Viper a little bit in the clear. But unfortunately for Viper, Gertian has just been a man on a mission here in the final part of this race. Never say die. Never gave up. Kept pushing all the way to the end. And is going to get his reward as he comes into the final 2 corners here at Singapore for the sprint race. It's going to be Gertian who will start the Grand Prix on pole position as he comes over the line. It will be Viper in 2nd place, with Bennett coming over in 3rd. Not too far behind in the end. Bennett definitely keeping these guys honest, and over the strategy over the course of a race distance, you know, could throw in a different strategy to these guys, and maybe, who knows, be able to challenge them over the course of the Grand Prix itself. Martin is going to come into the final part of the lap, and it's going to be a P4 here for him, as here he comes over the line to finish the race. Costa's not too far behind. He's just ahead of the Grieve and V10 Ultra. So Costas will bring it round for P5, ahead of the Grieve in 6th with V10 Ultra there, jumping the Grieve into P6 with the Grieve penalty. So V10 Ultra P6, the Grieve in 7th. A little Grievey here coming through the final part of the lap to finish in 8th. Only a second ahead of Senna, so Senna made some real gains on the last lap, but not quite enough. Little Grievey 8th, Senna 9th, Crazy Max in 10th, with Mr. Basil coming around to finish this one in 11th. Mutsnuts in 12th. And these guys are well ahead of Totally Zero. Did not have to race it in the sprint race at all. Mike obviously retiring from the race early on. Mr. Basil, to be fair, kept going and fought well, because he had a horrible start to the race. No safety cars either to save his blushes. He just fought very valiantly indeed. But Totally Zero nonetheless coming over the line to finish this one in 13th place with the last driver over the line here for the sprint race. And what a sprint race that was then, guys. So Gertian taking the first win of the night, with Viper and Bennett joining him on the podium. It was Gertian and Viper lining up on the front row for the Singapore Grand Prix here at Motive for Season 5, Round 16 of 21 for this season. Gertian definitely looking in cruise control in the championship, but the battle for the race win, I'd say it's 3 drivers in it, realistically. Also going to be looking out for Senna, potentially could be getting in the top 5 maybe in this one. Obviously, I wouldn't be ruled him out getting a top 3 here tonight, Senna. I think he can certainly do some damage from there. But that's it, guys, for the sprint. We're going to flick to the race, and yeah, we'll be a couple of minutes and we'll have that on for you. So don't go anywhere. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a coffee, pop to the loo if you need to, because yeah, we're going to have the race on in a moment. Radio check 1 2 1 2. Here we are then, ladies and gentlemen, we're lining up on the grid here, getting ready to go for the Singapore Grand Prix at Motive for round 16 of 21 for season 5 here on the EA Sports F1 game, as we're just lining up now. The last drive's pulling up, the lights will come on very shortly, the engine revs will start to rise here, and that's when we know we'll be locked in and ready to go for this round here tonight for the Singapore Grand Prix. Lights are coming on now at the head of the grid. We're moments away from the start. Who's going to get the better getaway? Looks like it was Gertian who got a better start. And it's, you can see Viper now tucking into the slipstream there, coming into turn 1. Bennett there in third, as Martin's got ahead of Costas up into 4th place. The Mutt Nuts has made a move here on what looks to be V10 Ultra. V10 Ultra's dropped down to the pack, and he's in the wall, that's why. So V10 Ultra's had a nightmare there. Gertian and Viper side by side here, coming into turn 3. Viper trying around the outside here. Can he do this one? We know what sort of straight line speed Viper's got, so he'll have to run coming through Raffles Boulevard. Should be able to get ahead of him here, but Gertian's not giving this one up. He's still keeping himself there. Viper will have the inside though for the left-hander, and should have this move done, I reckon. Yes, he does. Viper up into the lead as Gertian pushed out a little bit wide. Bennett here looking to the outside on Gertian. Can't get anything done there. Bennett for the time being is going to have to wait for his opportunity here on the back of Gertian, but Viper taking the lead off of Gertian in the early stages of the Grand Prix. And obviously Gertian passed him for the lead on the final lap of the sprint race, so Viper there getting some sort of revenge, but still a long way to go. 30 laps from managing to execute his revenge here perfectly in this race. It's Viper from Gertian with Bennett there in third ahead of Martin, followed by Costas, Little Greavy, with the Greavy in 7th ahead of Mr. Basil, Senna, the Mutts Nuts, Totally Zero in 11th ahead of Crazy Max, followed by Mike and V10 Ultra running at the back there in P14. We've got an Alfa Romeo here lining up a move. That looks like that's actually, no, it's Costas defending from Little Greavy. Little Greavy making a move to the inside and gets the move done there up into 5th place. So nice move there from Little Greavy. You can see there the Greave trying to attack on the back of Costas at the moment as he's keeping himself very close there. You can see it on board with the Haas attacking on the back of the Alfa Romeo. V10 Ultra in the meantime has got ahead of Mike. What's happened to Mike? Mike seems to have had a bit of an incident, not sure what. He's got no front wing here is Mike, so he's having a nightmare of an evening here. These two with no front wing, both of them are battling each other right now. Great fight from those two, driving with damaged cars. Viper, Gertian, Bennett the top 3. There's Martin ahead of Little Greavy. Costas running in P6 ahead of the Greave. Mr. Basil there running just ahead of Senna. Senna now trying to cut his way through the pack after a very, very diabolical sprint race for him. Oh, and Costas is out of the race. Costas has crashed out coming out of the final corner, as is that a safety car? I think it might well be. No, it's a virtual safety car. So God, no, it is a full safety car. Is a full safety car. I can see that yellow dot on the mini map in the in the bottom right hand corner. So that means that we're all going to slow down to painfully slow speeds here, and basically have to wait another 2 laps until we can race again, which is quite painful. So yeah, this is not ideal at all. But Viper leads ahead of Gertian, followed by Bennett, who's in third. Martin there running in P4 ahead of the Little Greavy, followed by the Greave in P6. Then you've got Mr. Basil, Senna, the Mutts Nuts ahead of Totally Zero completing the top 10. Then you've got Crazy Max ahead of Mike and V10 Ultra, who are both in the pits here. And obviously their blushes being saved a little bit due to the fact that we've got a safety car, but there's no way you're going to get the hards on from to the end from here. Not a chance in hell. So medium tyres going on both of them too, and they'll be doing a 2-stop strategy in this race. They'll be needing to stop again at some point throughout the course of this race. Entire pack barring, well, everybody put the hard tyres on for the start of this race. Nobody's opted for a medium stint to start the race off. So Mike and V10 Ultra there obviously putting the mediums on there. The only 2 runners on the mediums, so will they be looking to try and gain a few places, maybe go for a bit of a short burst